This is Howard Walensky for Skype, and I'm speaking today with Mark D. White, professor at the College of Staten Island, but also an author. And it's about his book and what he did with this book in Skype that I wanted to talk to him about. But in case people aren't familiar with Watchmen, what is the Watchmen?
Well, Watchmen was a 12-part comic series originally published in the mid-'80s, and recently, oh, not recently, but almost immediately afterwards, was published as a book, and it's thought of as the greatest graphic novel ever published.
It's
It tells sort of a dystopian picture of real-world superheroes, again in the mid-'80s, in a little different universe than ours, but really questions the whole idea of what superheroes would do if they actually existed in the real world, rather than the sort of, in comparison, naive four-color pictures of the comics that most of us grew up with.
so. Did you actually grow up with Watchmen?
I did. I read it when I was a teenager, after about 10 years of mainstream comic book reading, and I can't say that I got it all at the time, but over the years, rereading it after I bought it in book form, excuse me, after I got it in book form and rereading it, it's sort of as if I grew up with it. And then the chance to do this book came along, and I jumped at it.
And what is the title of the book, and who's the publisher?
It's Watchmen and Philosophy. The publisher is John Wiley and Sons. It's part of the Blackwell Philosophy and Pop Culture series edited by Bill Irwin that tries to use pop culture phenomena such as Watchmen, Batman, South Park, House MD to introduce basic philosophical concepts.
And I noticed that the book has essays by a number of people. It looks like most of them are philosophers. So do we
Yeah.
need to be a philosopher to read The Watchmen?
Oh, no. No, not at all. Because, like I said, the purpose of the books is really to introduce people to philosophy using something they're already interested in, like Watchmen or House MD or Battlestar Galactica is another popular book in the series. So the idea is if you're a fan of these shows or comic books or bands and you want to know, well, how can I get from there to philosophy, these books help you do that.
It's sort of interesting. I remember reading the science of Star Trek. So this is sort of you could do the science of any science fiction, but you could do the
Well,
philosophy of almost anything.
right, right.
So okay, so you have the book out, and I think the movie has just recently come out too.
Yeah, the movie was out earlier this year, and it'll be coming out on DVD very soon.
So were you trying to capitalize on that with the book, or
Somewhat, somewhat. It was a book we always wanted to do, but of course the publisher likes to have a publishing moment where they can tie in with promotion for the movie. So when the movie came along, we saw a chance to do the book, and where ordinarily it might just fall by the wayside, being timed to release with the movie, it all built on itself.
okay? Who do you think's the demographic for your book, as well as is it the same demographic for the graphic novel?
Well, in large part, yes, but also trying to sort of, I mean, I don't like using the word capitalize, but build on all the promotion and the excitement about the movie. The Watchmen itself, the graphic novel, was on the number one on many booksellers' lists for months and months leading up to the movie, and then after the movie as well. So, as the graphic novel grew in popularity, we were hoping our book, which was usually positioned next to the graphic novel in bookstores, would also, be sort of we envision it as sort of a supplement to the book.
But
You
I
know,
I guess what I'm getting at is, I mean, some of the people like you who read it in the 80s might be taking another look at it, but is the idea also to attract a new generation to the book?
well, I mean, I think the book is the original Watchmen book itself is doing that, and the movie is certainly helping. I mean, over the 20 years since the graphic novel, since the comic series was originally collected as a graphic novel, it's been near the top of the graphic novel and comic book trade bestseller lists for the entire 20 years. I
Hmm.
mean, it's never gone out of print. It's never gone off the top 10 list. You know, graphic novels and trade paperbacks come out all the time, collecting all the latest titles, but Watchmen always stayed up there. So I think it's kept its audience over the last 20 years, and then with all the hype and build up to the movie, it just went through the roof. I mean, DC Comics printed off hundreds of thousands of new copies, and they could not keep them on the shelves.
So
And
how? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, how did the virtual book tour idea come up? Did you suggest it, or did your
Oh,
publisher?
no. My contact at Wiley emailed me and said, "We've got this idea. It's never been done before, but we're wondering if you would do a virtual signing." And it's funny because it actually turned out to be one of my favorite bookstores when I went to college in Cincinnati, Joseph Beth Booksellers. And then when they said, "We want you to do a virtual signing with a bookstore in Cincinnati," I was like, well, there's only one good bookstore I know of in Cincinnati, and it's got to be Joseph Beth's. So when I found out it was them, it was doubly exciting.
So what
But
kind
no,
of?
it was Wiley's suggestion.
Uh, and I guess this was the first time Wiley has done this sort of thing as well.
It's the first time it's ever been done, actually. We had got a good deal of publicity out of it because it was the first time it had been done.
Well, it's funny. Now, I've been following this a bit, and I know back in January I did a little blog entry from based on something from a bookseller in Seattle who suggested the idea. But mainly I'd seen, and since then I've seen a couple of self-published authors and some smaller presses that had done it. I guess
Oh,
yours is probably the highest profile so far. You know,
okay. Well, I don't mean to. As far as I know, it's the first one,
well,
and
believe
that's
me, I'm not
the,
trying to steal your thunder, despite the weather here in Chicago right now. What kind of turnout did you have, and how did it go?
we had a good number of people, given that it was a beautiful, bright, sunny day in Cincinnati that day. We had a good number of people and asking very provocative questions, very insightful questions.
These people were readers of the series or of Watchmen.
I think there were some people that had read the book before, some people that had read my book. I was happy to see. Some comic book fans, some people who had just seen the movie and came to the book now, some who were just reading the book.
What kind of age range did you have?
Uh, I'd say from 20s, and there are definitely a few people there that may have been in their 50s or 60s. So there's a really nice range.
And so, okay, good questions, good turnout. From an author's point of view, what are the advantages of doing a virtual signing?
Well, the advantages are you no travel, no hotel rooms. You do it from the luxury of your own house or den, or I'm in my kitchen right now, and it's more comfortable, and this allows me to quote unquote appear in more bookstores at much lower cost to myself, to the publisher, to the stores themselves.
So now you teach too full time.
Yes.
So this way you could do a tour without giving up your regular schedule.
Right. Right. I
And
mean,
you
if I actually did a tour, it'd have to be during the summer, which again is my peak writing time as well. So, I mean, this is a time. Obviously, I don't have teaching responsibilities in the summer, so I can get away if I had to. But then again, I've got two kids, a lot of responsibilities at home. So an actual in-person book tour would be a significant burden on a lot of people. But this allows me. I could potentially do this every night for an hour every night, and spread the word of my books around and sleep in my own bed and have my own coffee and
I got you, and pay your bills and do everything else you got to do.
I can do without the bills, but
Well, let's hope this helps with the bills.